German winter, so that's kind of logical, right? But it's actually a perfect moment to start writing or to continue writing, and that is what we will do today. For those who don't know me, I am Ilse. I am a magic wielding dragon companion and creator of worlds, and I am here to help you on your writing journey. And today we are going to continue with several writing sprints to see how far you can get in your NaNoWriMo goal, or how far you can get into your writing period. The goal of NaNoWriMo, the end goal, is 50,000 words. That is a huge achievement. In essence, that is a novel. And for everyone who has made that goal already, congratulations, you did an awesome job. And for those who have surpassed that goal in miles, I can only admire you. I mean, it is so incredible that you managed to do that. For those who are still working on it, so am I. And I have to be honest, I know already that I will not make that goal. Currently, my total is a little shy of 23,000 words, so there is no way that I will make another 27,000 words today till midnight, because that would mean I would have to write 11 hours straight and make what is it? Let me do some quick calculations, because I mean that's not my strongest suit at the moment. What did I say? 27,000 in 11 hours. Yeah, that would be about 2,500 words per hour. I mean, I know I can write quite some words, but not that many in an hour. That's not gonna happen. But you know what? I don't care for that. About that. I have written a lot. And before Nano, I had already written a lot as well. And my goal for this Nano, because of everything I also had going on this month, was to continue my background story, which I did. And then at some point, I was surprised because the scene kept playing in the background, in the back of my mind. A scene which eventually turned out into a chapter that will be not in the background story, but instead in book 2 or 3 or 4, kind of dependent on where I will eventually place it. But it's become quite a chapter with 12,000 words. So of those almost 23,000 words, I've written 12,000 words in a chapter that is not part of the background story. But I don't care, because in that part, no, it's not. I'm sorry, I'm looking wrongly. It's 10,000 words. I checked the wrong file. It's 10,000 words I wrote in that particular chapter. So yeah, I don't know how I will keep it like that. I might divvy it up into several chapters. I have no idea yet. But you know what? That's for the future. But it did bring me some points that I didn't know yet. Some world-building things that I didn't know. Several things of which I now know I need to foreshadow in the first books and in the chapters leading up to that particular chapter. And possibly I need to figure out a few things during the rest of writing of the background story. So that's going to be interesting. For me, Nano is a wonderful event, which I usually try to take part in. And I have made that 50k several times already, but this month was not the month to is how I see Nano. I mean, NaNoWriMo, the National Novel Writing Month, for those who don't know the abbreviation, the National Novel Writing Month is a challenge. And depending on how you pick it up, and also depending on how much time you can actually spend on that challenge, you can make that 50k easily, or you will have a lot of trouble making that 50k, if only because you do not have the time. I mean, there are so many people who have a full-time job and who have other obligations to attend to besides writing. And yes, it is very wise to set time aside purely for writing. As Brandon Sanderson said in a video I just watched on YouTube, it is very wise to talk with your loved ones, to see that you can set time aside, especially for your writing, uninterrupted writing time. But I mean, that is not always possible. I do know there are authors who will get up at 5 p.m. to start writing. Well, in my case, at 5 p.m. I'm already at work. So that's not. And I do mean work outside of my house. I'm by day or really early morning, or for some some might consider that still night. I'm at work. I'm an interior cleaner by day, night, day-ish, sort of. And the rest of the time, I mean, I come home normally, well, when everything is alright, if it's that way. I come home at noon, or a little bit earlier than noon. I have my lunch, and then I still have my afternoon and my evening free, to do whatever I want. But I live on my own, so I also have all kinds of household chores to take care of, and I have my dinner to make and things like that. I mean, that also just keeps on going, and it doesn't change because November is National Novel Writing Month. On the contrary, especially if you live alone, it's even harder. If you live alone and you have a full-time job, it is even harder to set time aside specifically for writing, and for writing with this kind of goal. It's really a habit that you need to make, and along the way you will find that you can write more and faster because you have a better idea of your story, because you are further into your story, which actually will help you when you are writing your story. Even if you have a detailed outline, the more you have written, the easier it will become to write the rest of your story, because many things are already in the back of your mind because you have already written it. So again, that is all. I mean, those are all challenges, and depending on your situation, the challenge of 50k words is slightly easier or a lot harder than for the average person. So to all of you who have participated in this event and who have been writing in one way or another, you have done it. You might not have gotten that goal of 50,000 words, but you have been writing this month. You have been writing, working on your story, working on your characters, working on your world, and that is what matters. That 50k, I mean, that it is an amazing achievement if you get that. But if you don't achieve it, do not see it as a failure, because it is not. You have been writing, you have been working on your book, and that is what matters. Sure, getting that 50k is awesome, and I really admire the people who are able to write a lot more than that 50k. I have a few people in my community who have written so much, and I on going despite the feeling they might have that they might not make that goal of 50k. Like myself, I mean, I didn't make that. I mean, it's pretty safe to say that I won't make that 50k this evening, tonight. I mean, it's simple as that. I'm realistic about that. But we've all kept on writing, and that is what matters. So, to help you get a little bit further towards that goal of 50k, I mean, do not stop writing your story. Let me say that first. Do not stop writing your story because you did not make that 50k. I mean, November is perhaps the start of your story or the continuation of what you had already started, and just continue it all through December and perhaps January, and continue your story until it is finished. This has been a great start, or continuation if you were already writing, if you are a rebel nanoist like I am. I mean, I'm very much a rebel this month, this year. But I don't care about that. I like it. I like it. Just keep on going. Keep on going until your story is finished. See NaNoWriMo as one of the tools in your toolbox to help you get to writing and to help you develop a habit of writing and of setting time aside for writing. Even if you just take half an hour in the morning and half an hour at night, that means you made 1 hour a day in writing, and that is what matters. And that is what will keep you going if you keep on writing. If you just take today as a just a check and nothing more, and then you'll just keep on writing. And if you want to keep track of your writing, you can do that in the Nano site. On a Nano site, you can set another goal, and you can keep track of your writing and see how you progress. I mean, that is awesome. Let's face it. But the way I see it, I've said it before. The word count goal is an amazing goal. It's amazing when you achieve that. But for me, the word count goal is not a goal on its own. It's not that I need to have a certain amount of words in my story. Instead, I see the word count goal as a tool that helps me see my progression, and that's it. That's all. That is how I view that word count goal. Hi Jess, welcome back. You just finished. You're just finishing some cooking. Ah, excellent. I've just had my lunch, so it was good. And to be honest, I am also cooking, but it's just some chicken and some sausages for tonight and tomorrow, so that I don't need to cook it anymore. So that's finished. It's on the stove and it can simmer for a few hours until I'm ready for dinner. So, Jess, I know that you have a goal for today. Can you tell us what your goal is and how far you've come already? And would you like to share it with the rest of the people? Like I said, I'm just I'll just keep on writing, and I do not care that I didn't make the 50k because I just keep on writing, and I have returned to the background story because that other chapter is now finished, or at least it is finished for what I needed to be finished, and I'm now back in the background story. And yesterday I found that Nejat, in essence, is a terrible patient, but I kind of expected that already. Nasya and Nejat met, finally, and Nasya is so not happy about the fact that she has been ignored, essentially, because that is, after all, essentially what happened in the beginning. Nejat left, he left with his team, exactly because this delegation from her kingdom was coming and that she was coming. He doesn't really know her, or rather he doesn't know her, but he knows why she's there with the delegation, and he wasn't in the mood for that. So he just left, essentially ignoring the fact that she would be arriving this day or another day. So yeah, Nasya is she's a proud woman, and she is not happy with the fact that she's been ignored like that by him. So it will be interesting to see how that develops, and how things turn out for them. I mean, I have an idea already. I mean, I've said from the beginning, this is the background story of the relationship between Nasya and Nejat, and I said that at the beginning of the main story they have an established relationship. So that part, of course, is something I gave away. So I have an idea where this background story is going to end. So that is, how should I say that? It's not exactly a given, but yeah, it is sort of known. But how they get together and how they grow, that is not known yet. And seeing the fact that Nasya really disdains him at the moment, there will be some time before other things happen. And Nejat also has to recover from his poison attack. And we'll have to see how that goes, because that will be interesting as well. So yeah, a lot of things to find out. Jess, are you ready for another writing sprint of 25 minutes? Because I'm looking forward to seeing what Nasya will do, and also how one of the healers who has been visiting in Dragon City deals with Nejat, because she has been asked to treat him, and she is one of the two major healers in the White City, the city of the mages, and she is truly a astonishing healer, and she can heal people other healers might not heal so quickly or not so good or not at all. So she's really good. She's really good. So I wonder what she will do with Nejat. I left them at the point where she needs to figure out what exactly the poison was that has been used. They have an idea. The mushrooms that are also used to that have also been processed and powderized, and of which the powder has been deposited in the nests of the flutter nymphs. So there is an idea of what exactly might be the source of that poison that was on the blade that Nejat was cut with. But exactly how that poison works and what the intensity of the poison is and things like that, that is unknown, because that is ancient magic, and there's still a lot to figure out about that. So there are quite a few things that are going to discover while writing this chapter. usually do, for those who haven't seen any of my live streams yet, I run a word sprint of 25 minutes, and after that we will take a short break, see how everyone is doing. If there are questions about story development, character development, world building, etc., maybe grab a drink or a snack or whatever. Make sure that you do drink. I mean, I have my trusted double with me, water bottle, to make sure that I drink enough. I mean, that is really important. Make sure you have something to eat as well, because it is important to have enough energy when you are writing. You may sit down, you may not move around, as some people do, and others really just sit down and don't move at all, hardly move at all. But still, you are using energy because you are constantly writing and thinking and working on your story. So that takes energy, that costs energy. So make sure you have something to drink, you have eaten, or you have a snack with you, or whatever, so that you can keep on having that energy and keep on writing. As I have done in the last week or so, I have a writing prompt for you to maybe use during this writing sprint. And the first prompt is wish lists. I mean, it's the holiday season, and here in the Netherlands, we start with Sinterklaas. That is coming Tuesday. And of course, we also have Christmas. And we all make wish lists for Santa and Sinterklaas to see what we can perhaps get as a present. And that inspired me to make this writing prompt, a wish list. Your character finds a wish list. Is that her own wish list? Is it a wish list of one of her family members or friends? Is it a wish list that has just blown in, that someone else caused? And is there something special on that wish list that she might be able to fulfill or use in a different way? See what you can do with that. In my case, at the moment there won't be any wish lists in play because, well, if you don't know, unless you count Nejat's really wanting to get rid of the poison in his body. But that's, I mean, can you see that as a wish or as something that really needs to be done? I'm thinking the latter instead of a wish. I mean, he wishes to stay alive and to be healthy again. That's, I mean, that is a wish. Those are wishes, but those are wishes you most of the time won't put on a wish list. So wish lists, I wish you a lot of fun with that, and let me know what you did with it after our first writing sprint. I wish you all a lot of fun, happy writing, may the words flow, and may your characters surprise you with their wish lists. first writing sprint. How did you guys do? I managed to write 623 words, which means I am past my session target of 500 words. I usually use a session target of 500 words because for me that is quite achievable in 25 minutes. Normally, at least, it's quite achievable. In this piece, we see Nasya interacting with that one main healer I told you guys about, Rowena, and she actually has a very good suggestion. Question, of course, is it gonna help? But Rowena sees it as a very good suggestion, so I guess it might help. It will be interesting to see. It will also be interesting to see if Nasya is going to help with the next step or if she's going somewhere else. I mean, she has a certain idea about Nejat at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised if she says, you know what, bye-bye, I have other things to do, and you can fend for yourself. So we'll see about that. That is one of the fun things when you have characters who do not initially like each other. They might. My apologies. They might. How do you say that? Reunite with each other for a while, and in this case, I expect that Nasya and Nejat will not be on the best of terms for a while. I mean, Nejat feels, well, he knows that he has done something wrong, and at the same time, he feels that it wasn't necessarily wrong, because there was this mission to fulfill. He does know that his father was of a mind that he wasn't the one that needed to fulfill that mission. But, well, you know, when you let the rest of the team go, then the team leader, and Nejat is the team leader, the team leader will follow. I mean, that's quite logical. My apologies, I'm kind of distracted by one of the words in the feeder. It's trying to get to the sunflowers that are in the mix, and the sunflowers are still in the box, and the box is transparent, so the bird can see the sunflower seeds, but it cannot reach it, and they really keep on trying. They just need to eat the rest as well, so that's yeah, that's a fun thing. Anyways, like I said, Nejat kind of knows that he did something wrong, or something that others consider to be wrong, but in his view, he wasn't wrong, especially now that they managed to save all those Fatanims. He is more convinced that he wasn't wrong and that this couldn't wait, and that the only way they now managed to at least save the Platinums, I mean, not solve the case yet, but at least save the Platinums, is the fact that he and his team went there, and that his brothers and their teams followed him, and he feels that otherwise that wouldn't have been happening. And of course, we have already the evidence that in the past, other investigators didn't do their jobs properly. So that again is for him despite knowing what the role of the delegation and Nasya coming is. So despite all that, he still feels he did the right thing. And yeah, in a certain way, he knows that others aren't happy with it. I mean, his father explicitly told him that, and others will probably tell him that in the coming days. I assume. I mean, or maybe not. Um, but yeah, that is. How should I say that? That is one of the challenges Nejat will have to face. And of course, Nasya is a big challenge he has to face. A challenge he did not see coming. Because to be honest, Nejat expected let's just say, the damsel in distress-ish princess-like. The princess that has been spoiled and that really doesn't know how to do anything. I mean, Nasya shows up in a silk dress with lots of jewelry, and in that main hall where he is treated and where all those flattenings are treated. So to him, that is absolutely not the proper way to be in such a room, in such a hall, and then offering to help. As far as he is concerned, that is useless. So he already had an idea of princesses. He has seen several of them around because other kingdoms might send their princesses for an interesting holiday or something, or a long weekend or something. And of course, push the princesses under his nose and as well to Seamus of Finlay, but especially to Nejat because he is the eldest of the three. So even though he is adopted, other other kings and queens know that his father treats him as his own. So they really want to push the daughters to him in the hopes of securing a marriage. And Nejat has basically had it with that, and he has seen lots of those useless princesses, as he calls them. Some just linger in the city because they essentially have nothing else to do. And some are also part of a big family, and the nth princess in line. That's also a thing where kings and queens might not necessarily send the first daughter in line to potentially marry a prince who has been adopted, because that prince comes from another kingdom, and yes, he has been adopted by the Dragon King, but that doesn't mean that kings and queens from other kingdoms see his son in the same way and with the same value. So they might just send a princess who is, I don't know, 5th or 10th in line to marry Nejat, and those are Nejat has met princesses in the past who were all about their appearance and who had basically a lot of disdain for the common people and for noble people, and he there is this woman in the village they just left, this woman of the brothel, who sometimes treats others with disdain, but that is in fact kind of the other way around, because she is of such low status. She might treat, and actually did treat, Ruan, for example, with disdain, um, because she doesn't think highly of him, despite hardly knowing him. Um, she has another view on royalty and people with high functions and things like that. Um, so that's the other way around, and Najat kind of likes that in her. Um, but having a princess and like Nasya, um, coming down in silk dresses and with a lot of jewelry, coming down to a main hall that has essentially turned into a sick bay, um, and then offering to help. Yeah, that doesn't bode well in Nejat's book. So um, he taunts her, but at the same time he's glad that she doesn't seem to want anything to do with him, because he doesn't hold her in high regard. And of course he doesn't know her. She has visited Dragon City years ago, but at that time he was with his mother, visiting family somewhere south, in another country, not his origin country, because they can't return there. But their family was in another country, and so they visited there. Um, so he has never seen Nasya, so he doesn't know her. Seamus and Finlay have seen her, but that was such a long time ago that they do not quite have an idea about her, about who she is right now. And Nasya, well, she is a character of her own. I mean, she's how shall I say that? She has been trained in several fighting arts. She is the leader of a team that operates covertly, and not like the Dragon Companies. Um, it is something that her stepmother doesn't know, or doesn't appreciate, I should say. Her family knows about it, but they rather ignore that fact, since they already tried to withhold her from it, and they utterly failed in that. So they try to ignore that fact, and if it comes to if it somehow is raised, then they try to talk over it, and in essence show real disdain for that. So all taken together, Nasya is the eldest, in fact, like Nejat is. Nasya is the bloodborn daughter of the king of her country, but she has a stepmother, and her stepmother really doesn't like her. She does have more siblings. She does have siblings. She has siblings that were from her own mother, and she has siblings that are from her stepmother. So it's a mixed family, and her stepmother seems to have quite the influence on her father, um, as far as she's concerned about Nasya, and that doesn't always bode well for Nasya, and it has made her life hard, but it also caused her to now be sure that Nasya wore that jewelry. So it's for Nasya, it's also a tense time arriving in Dragon City, arriving with a delegation of whom, or most of the people in the delegation she feels nothing about or either hates. So that's not an ideal situation. Her own team hasn't arrived yet. Only one of her team has come with her. Her team isn't quite known in her family. They know, excuse me, they know that she has one close friend who lives nearby the castle and with whom she goes out a lot and things like that. But they don't know the rest of the team, so they are quite surprised, or not yet even, because they don't know the rest of the team. I expect that the rest of the team will show up in Dragon City sooner or later. I expect sooner. And Nasya will have to see what she's going to do, and Nejat will have to see what he can find out about Nasya, about who she is and what she does, and what her beliefs are and her values and norms, and how she fits into it all. I mean, he is particularly aware that he can't just turn her down, because Dragon City has a certain treaty. Is that the right word? I can't find the right word at the moment. Some kind of treaty with the kingdom where Nasya comes from, and that stems from ancient times, and that treaty is renewed every 10 years or so. And one of the things in that treaty is that it is customary when both the eldest children are of an age of marriage. The eldest children from either side are of an age of marriage, that they will marry the two. So that's in essence an arranged marriage, and that is one of the reasons that Nejat essentially fled Dragon City, because he was not in the mood for an arranged marriage. But he realizes that he can't just turn her down. He needs reasons to turn her down, to turn down that part of the treaty. And even though his father now has made their marriage not necessarily a final marriage, but more the intent to marry, or the marriage contract, I should say, is now turned into the intent to marry, so they can both get out of it. And that plays very well in Nejat's cards, because, I mean, he has another lover, and he is not in the mood to be forced into a marriage. So yeah, that's the problem. And he wants to find reasons to get out of it, and it will be the big question how Nasya feels about that, and what they will do with it, and of course what the Dragon Companions King feels about it, and how other officials will deal with it. So there's a lot of politics going on, and for lot to get out of those thugs that they arrested. A lot of information they need to be able to solve this counterfeit issue before it can get any worse. So there's a lot going on, and in all that midst, Nasya and Nejat meet, and they are basically set in that intent to marry contract. Um, and we'll have to see how that goes and what they eventually feel about each other. So yeah, this is going to be interesting. My apologies. I have this really big fat pigeon in my garden, and another pigeon already managed to partially dislodge the feeder, one of the feeders. I managed to get it back all right. But for some reason, these pigeons really like it here in my garden. I mean, they cannot even get the food out of the feeders because they can't really get to it. But then you have those little birds like the robins and and the blue tits and sparrows. Yep, I missed my mic again, but apparently it picked up all the sound, so that's good. But those birds all throw small food on the ground, so the pigeons apparently do not find it a problem to find food in my garden, because they keep foraging here and just sit down. It's a fun thing to see. This particular pigeon is just now sitting down close to my back door. It's really like, oh, I like it here. I like it here. I mean, it's crazy to see, and it's sitting down on the ground. Just to be clear, it's sitting down on the ground. Its head just a little bit tucked in like that, and it does keep an eye on its surroundings. I mean, it doesn't, and it flew up earlier and flew away and came back. So I don't think it's ill or sick in any way. It just seems to be at home in my garden. I don't know why, but for some reason it feels at home. So I'll just let it sit there. So I'm going to see what more new things I can find in this background story, and what Nasya and Nejat will do, and how Nejat will be cured, because that will be very interesting as well. And then of course there's those thugs, and Nejat has quite the idea in mind to punish those thugs. Well, to be honest, I have to say I don't know if they have been punished already, if they haven't been punished already, because the Queen of the Small Folk has been already to the prison. But I haven't seen any signs that other or that these prisoners have been transported already to the castle. So I don't know. I don't know why she went to the prison. That's something to find out as well. I mean, it's that's a fun thing about writing without an outline. You just discover all kinds of things that you might not have expected, but nonetheless, it's fun to do. But let's do another word sprint of 25 minutes to see if I can get more information and to see how Rowena the healer will heal Nejat, because that's of course the biggest question of them all at the moment. And of course, well, luckily the Flatonyms that were doused in that powder through the nest, they had burn marks and fur and feathers burned away,
but they were able to wipe away the powder. So for them, wiping away the powder or blowing it away, apparently that worked for the flatulence. With Nejat, however, the poison wasn't powderized. It was done in a different way, or it wasn't powderized when he was cut. Let me put it that way. So I'll have to see how that progresses and how the poison will be removed from his body, because I have no idea. I literally have no idea. So let's start another writing sprint of 25 minutes, and I have a new writing prompt for you, and that is wedding dresses. Yes, I know that Nejat and Nasya are far from a wedding, but I was inspired by something I found on Board Panda. If you are ever looking for conflicts in your story, for ideas for conflicts in your story, just visit Board Panda. You will find loads and loads of inspirational ideas. In this case, I found the story of a man who thought it was a good idea, believe it or not, to let his mother try the wedding dress that his soon-to-be married wife still needed to wear. Yeah, you see, the way I understand it, wedding dresses are for the brides, and after the wedding they might decide to use it for the basket, or the oh, how do you call it in English? The cradle. I was looking for that. To use it for clothing for the cradle for their firstborn child and other children. They might keep the dress for their daughters, for the wedding of their for the future wedding of their daughters. Of course, that is all possible, but having the mother of the groom actually wear the dress that should be worn by the brides before the wedding, I mean, I can imagine that the bride would not be happy with that. And in this story that I read, the bride was furious and she made her pay. So yeah, I just say, why couldn't this prompt have been 2 days ago? My apologies. I have so many prompts in my bookmarks and such that I just happened to came along to this one just now, just before we started with these writing sprints. How would that have been done in your story? I mean, I know Daniel and Becca are now married, but would Daniel's mother have done such a thing? And how would Becca have responded to that? And how would Becca's mother have responded to that? I mean, I can only imagine what I would have done in such a case. Luckily, my ex's mother is no such person. I mean, she's a sweetheart, and she would never do that. My own mother would not, neither would ever do that. I mean, the thought of it, I mean, that's beyond my imagination. Why would someone do that? But apparently there are mothers who do that. So I'm really interested in how that would go in your story, Jess, and how your main characters would respond to that and deal with that issue. Also, how would Alex do that? Honestly, it would make a lot of sense. They had to scrape together the money so quickly, so having no wedding dress expenses would be very... Yeah, but it's not that she didn't have a wedding dress. It's not that the mother-in-law wore the wedding wedding dress before her and it was the dress of the mother-in-law. No, it was the dress of the bride. It was the actual wedding dress of the bride. She bought it. And the mother-in-law thought that it would be fun to wear that dress. So, I mean, it's not that she paid for it. It's not that it was originally her dress. No, it's the dress of the bride. The bride paid for it. She chose it. It was her dress. Only the mother-in-law, the future mother-in-law, thought it was a good idea to wear it as well before the wedding. So, I mean, how? Why? So weird, so weird. I mean, sure, if you have to scrape money from everywhere and your mother-in-law offers you her old wedding dress, sure. I mean that would be very welcome. I can imagine that. But your mother-in-law wearing the wedding dress that you bought yourself. And you say, just you say that's controversial. You really don't think any of your characters would do that. Even Alex, who's somewhat morally grey. Yeah, I don't see any of my characters do that either. Well, that is to say, any of the main characters. I don't know yet if I would pass it by Nasya's stepmother. I mean, nah. Although I do expect that Nasya would choose a dress in a color and in a setting that would be utterly disgusting to wear for her stepmother. So I doubt that she will do that. But yeah, it was when I read that I was at first I was really astonished and surprised, and I thought, who in their right mind would think that is a good thing to do? So yeah, and the groom also on top of the mother-in-law, the future mother-in-law wearing the dress, the groom didn't see a problem with that. I mean, I have no words for that, and we're all authors. I have no words for that. The groom didn't see a problem in the fact that his mother wore the wedding dress that his soon-to-be bride bought herself, chose for herself, and was was supposed to wear on her actual wedding. I mean, which groom in his right mind would think that would be a good idea? Yeah, I don't know. I think that, I mean, no, my ex wouldn't think that. I do know that. And my ex mother-in-law wouldn't even dream of the idea, let alone execute it. So it's, I mean, I like I said, I have no words, and we're all authors here, so yeah, I have no words to describe how astonished I am with it, about it. It's stupid. I mean, that's the first thing, the first thing that comes to mind. And I think grounds for trouble that will come in the future, because it doesn't bode well for the future if your groom, if your husband thinks that things like that are not a problem, and that a mother like that isn't a problem. Yeah, weird. So with that in mind, keep that in mind. I mean, perhaps they read about it somewhere, or perhaps just one of your wedding guests of Becca and Daniel reminisces about a wedding they had been to earlier, I don't know, weeks or months before, where such a thing happened. I mean, it could happen. I mean, it happened. So they could hear about it, and perhaps it happened and they had a good laugh about it, or they were just astonished, as astonished as I am. Or maybe they read something somewhere in a news feed, or maybe Becca read something in the news feed and thinks, I'm very glad that didn't happen to me. I mean, it's all possibilities, it's all options. So keep that idea in mind and see if you can use that in your next writing sprints. Um, Again, 25 minutes. I just gave you the writing prompt. I wish you all a lot of fun with it. Happy writing, and may your characters surprise you. is trying to be acrobatic or something, because the feeder has this little roof over the food, and the pigeon is sitting on that roof and trying to get under it to get to the food. I might need to go outside because I fear that it might break it. Okay, I'm gonna step out for 1 minute to see if I can get a pigeon from the feeder. Luckily, the feeder is made from strong materials, so it apparently can stand the attack of the pigeons. Happy writing, everyone, and my apologies for the intrusion. And that is the end of our second writing sprint. How did you guys do? I managed to write 550 words. It's not the best, but then again, I had to take care of a pigeon who hasn't returned, so that's a good thing. Just to be clear, I did not do anything to the pigeon the moment I opened the door and walked toward the feeder. The pigeon flew away. So I just needed to check if the feeder was still alright, and luckily they didn't break anything. So I'm very happy about that. It does point me to the fact that I somehow need to find a way to make sure that the pigeons can't go onto that little roof of the feeder. While at the same time, I do want the little birds like the sparrows and the robins and such to be able to sit on that roof. So I need to figure out something for that. Because I don't want that roof to break, because if that breaks, I think the whole feeder breaks. But having those pigeons on the feeder, on the roof of the feeder, is not an ideal situation either. So I'll have to think about that. But back to the story. I wove in a saying that we have in the Netherlands. I do realize it is not a common saying in English, but you know, this is a fantasy story, and yes, the common tongue is English-ish, but it doesn't mean that in your own worlds you can't use things that are from your own country if it is not your first language. So one of this saying that I used is as follows: gentle healers make stinking wounds, and that refers to the following. It means that it is better to treat a medical problem thoroughly, even if the treatment is painful, otherwise it might get worse. I mean, you have these soft healers, so to speak, and they might not do enough and not be thoroughly enough, which causes the patient in the end to be in much more pain. I don't know. I mean, the first thing I find when I look at this English translation is that it is literally the translation of the Dutch proverb. So I don't know if there is a saying like that in English, but I decided to use it in my story anyway. And I stated that it is a saying that they have in the White City. So that explains why it isn't a normal thing, so to speak, and it at the same time explains its origins. At least in the story in Tergaenae, it explains its origins. Because I think in this case, where I am in the story right now, I think that it fits. And I mean, Nejat needs a bit of sort of, well, his medical problem needs rough treatment to make sure that that they can get the poison out. But Rowena the healer was a bit blunt. I mean, she didn't physically treat him yet. It was that at first she tried to let him squeeze her hands, and he didn't feel anything, and Nejat asked if she was playing with him. She held him down with a simple hand on his chest, and just bluntly says, "It seems that the poison is working faster than I thought. The poison is now working its way through his nerve system and muscles. That is why you didn't feel anything." And then the king asks, "Can you perhaps be a bit more gentle about it?" Well, and then we get that saying. So she didn't treat him yet, but it did say that say it did show how she acts as a healer, how she treats her patients. I mean, yes, she can feel empathy with her patients, but she also needs to treat them. And there is something that you need to know about healers, about magical healers. I'm not talking about the doctors who do not have the healing skill. I am talking about the healers. They have the healing skill, but that healing skill comes at a price, and that it all magical skills come with a price attached to it in Tergaenae. And for the healers, the price is, for starters, when they start really treating patients using their skills, it takes energy from them. It takes energy from the healers, and the downside for the patients can be that the healers get access, involuntarily access to the thoughts of the patients. That is one of the reasons that they ask patients to think of a happy thing, of something that brings them joy, so that they won't be overtaken by the thoughts and the feelings that a patient has. Because if a healer is overtaken by those thoughts and feelings that might be very negative or very painful, the healer might not be able to do her job. And in this case, of course, she needs to be able to do her job, because Nejat is really, really very ill. So at the moment, she hasn't physically treated him yet. She hasn't used her magical skills yet. But this is the first sign of how she is as a healer. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of her. Also, one of the things I ran into while writing this background story is that I started to type Seamus's name wrongly. Seamus is usually written as Eamus, and instead of the U, I keep on typing the Y. So after having typed that wrongly for I don't know how many times, I'm fed up with it. So I've decided to change his name, and to for now, with any changes in the future, with everything I'll write, the U becomes a Y, and the proper pronunciation will come later. I think it's something like Shemis. I'll have to think about that. I'm not quite sure about it yet. Oh, just thank you for your suggestion in the Discord. That I think that that is a good suggestion. It is one of the things that indeed my mind sprang to in the first place as well. Shamies. I'll let it simmer for a while and see what the proper pronunciation will be. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm tending to lean toward Shamies indeed, because of the Y. And it's I don't know. It's something I'll let simmer for a while, but I'm tired of editing that name every time, simply because I type it wrong every time. At some point, you have to come to the conclusion, or at least I come to the conclusion, if I keep on typing a name in my story wrong, then apparently, subconsciously, my mind wants to use a different name, or wants that name to be written in a different way. And in this case, it's going to be written in a different way from now on. So that means, essentially, I have to go through the whole of the background story. That is not yet the biggest problem, but I'll have to go through everything else as well. I'll have to go through all my drafts. I'll have to go through, or rather, my last draft. I'm not going to go through the earlier drafts. The earlier drafts might cause a big problem, because if I were to go through that, I have the names of actors and models and such that I used as a model, and those changed as well. So I'm going from name A to name B to name C, and then a temporary character name that I came up with, and then the final name. So yeah, that's how my mind kind of works. So it's not always easy. I can assure you that. So the only place that I'm going to change Seamus's name is well, probably not even in the last draft, because it's just one letter that needs to be changed, and it's not the entire name. And with this, I can easily use it in the new version of the first book. But I do need to change it in this background story, because Seamus is mentioned several times. So I do need to change it here, if only to make myself aware of the fact that I actually changed his name. But I also need to change it in the character profiles, and at points where I might have included it in the world building information and the blurb and the outlines and things like that. Luckily, it's just the change of one letter instead of a whole name. That makes a huge difference. I remember when I changed the names of the main characters, I really needed to go through the outlines and through the earlier drafts to check and to see, okay, I have that name there, and then it changed, and now it is changed again. So I have to look back to see that I changed everything correctly, and to make sure that the story was still correct, because that was essentially an issue. So yeah, that's going to be fun. I'll see how that will evolve. I do need to take a little break. It is 3 p.m. Just a little over 3 p.m. I do need to take a little break. So I suggest that in about 5 minutes, maybe a little bit more, we will go back, and then we will start another writing sprint, and I will give you a writing prompt to think over until we start the writing sprint. That is lawn shrimps. That is a kind of creature, and I'll post the link to the Wikipedia page in the chat so that you can have a look at it. And I would say, see if you can use that. Perhaps you can use it as inspiration for your world building. I am known to make up entire creatures based on really tiny earth creatures. The flutter nymph is one of them. So who knows? Maybe you can use it for your world building, or you can use it in your current story. Perhaps your character found such a lawn shrimp. If you look at the Wikipedia page, you'll also see that what it means if you find a lawn shrimp, why they are in certain places or why they aren't in certain places. So I would say, in the time that I am going to take a small break, check that page, see if you can do anything with it, and then in about 5 minutes I will return, and we will start another writing sprint. I will be right back. See you in a bit. and thank you all for waiting. That was a little break I needed. I hope that you have gotten some ideas on how to work with that writing prompt in the next writing sprint. So let's do another writing sprint of 25 minutes. And well, I just gave you guys the writing prompts, the launch shrimp, and I wish you a lot of fun with it. And let's start another writing sprint. Have fun and happy writing, and may your characters surprise you. And the pigeon is back again. So if anyone happens to have a suggestion on how to deal with these pigeons on the roof of my feeders, I mean, it's this size of a roof. I mean, it's not that big, and it's made of plexiglass. So I really hope that they don't break it. I'll have to see. I'll have to think about some solution for that. So if anyone has a suggestion, please share it with me, either in the chat or in the comments down below if you watch this live stream after it has ended. I'd be very grateful. I'd be very grateful for any suggestions you have. Besides killing the birds, because that's not what I do. And that is the end of our writing sprint. How did you guys do? I managed to write 520 words, which is okay-ish. Let's just say Nasya is not the only one causing surprises. Rowena is also causing surprises. She is kind of blunt, but also has her own way of dealing with things. Let me put it that way. Her husband showed up as well, so he's I don't know how do you say that in English? He's smoothing things down a bit, so that's a good thing, because Rowena is just took off in search for some missing ingredients she needs to treat Nejat. Luckily, the queen of the small folk has a pharmacist, and she contacted him, and he gave her the an antidote, because he suspects what kind of poison it is, and had run into it before. So this apparently is not something that is unknown. Also, perhaps we will see more of it later on in other parts of the story and in other parts of the world. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I guess that is something I will have to wait and see to see if it is a good thing or not. I don't know, the fact that the pharmacist has seen it and had the recipe for the antidote. I mean, he's from an ancient folk. He knows ancient magic. He knows ancient black magic, black sorcery, whatever I called it. Which in itself, by the way, is not necessarily a negative thing, but the way these thugs used it, and the things they used, that was a negative thing. So it's there are more things at play here. There are really more things at play here, and I suspect that things will how should I say that? That I will see more of possible things, or rather of things that might possibly play in the later books as well. I might see the seeds of that here, which is kind of interesting, because right now I'm writing things of which I can see the possibility in the main storyline, but I don't know yet if it actually is something. So that is something I need to discover. It's topics, potential side storylines, or parts of the main storyline, I should say, that I don't know, it might make for an even better storyline. It might bring things together even tighter. So it can be a good thing, or these things can be good things. But I'm not yet convinced, but I'll see how it goes. That is how should I say that? When you don't exactly know if something that you wrote is a proper addition to your story, I suggest you keep it in for the moment, and maybe mark it to see, or to see that, maybe mark it so that later on you will see that you wrote something you wasn't sure about, and that potentially had an extra function in your later story. And if in the end it turns out it didn't have a function, you can always delete that part and adjust the story so that it flows again without that part in it. If it turns out that that part actually makes the story better or makes your characters better, then by all means keep it in, and also make sure that it is tied into the story and that it is neatly tied up by the end of the story. Especially when you finished your story, not necessarily your first book if you are writing a series, but by the end of your story, by the end of your series, all these lines have to come together and have to be solved one way or another. I mean, some things might be solved, especially if you're writing a series. Some things might be solved in the first book or the second book, or however books you're writing, how many books you're writing. But you have to make sure that in the end, all the storylines are connected and solved, and that your characters either have the connection to those smaller storylines, or that it is something in your world or whatever. But make sure that that you do not have any open lines anymore, because there's nothing so frustrating as having an open line in a story that is finished and of which the author also has said there won't be any sequels anymore, because you have an open story somewhere in your series or in your book, and that is quite annoying. I mean, not looking at George R. R. Martin or something. I mean, we're still, what is it, 12 years, 10 years waiting for his next book in the Game of Thrones series, and from what I understand from an article that I read yesterday, we might be in for a much longer wait, because apparently he still has loads to write, despite the fact that he already apparently has written a lot already. So we're in for a long wait. I mean, it's already been, what, 10 years, 12 years since we're waiting for that next installment. So, no idea how long we have to wait. We'll have to see. But there are storylines that really need to be finished. Well, okay, we've seen possible finishings of storylines in the Game of Thrones TV series. Not everyone was happy with how things ended, but okay, that's up for debate. But we'll have to see how George R. R. Martin actually finishes the series, and I wonder how different it will be from the TV series. We'll have to wait and see, and hopefully he will finish those books at some point in the future. Anyways, in this piece, Rowena caused some surprises, and Nasya is still in the picture, but she has changed, at least has changed her outfit, so that's a good thing. So she can now help Rowena and others in the main hall, and we'll see how that goes. And Nejat is feeling worse and worse as time goes by. So that poison is really doing a number on him. And let's just say that I hope that Rowena finds that the antidote that the pharmacist of the Queen of the Small Folk gave the recipe for does indeed help Nejat, and that he will recover soon. Because the way it is going now, he's getting worse and worse, so that's not a good thing. But I mean, after all, he is a dragon companion, and he has been hurt in several ways in the past already, and has been able to recover from that. So I kind of expect him to do nothing else than recover from this as well. Well, yeah, actually, of course, I know that already, that he will recover from this, because I have written that chapter in book 2, 3, or 4, whatever, wherever it will land, and that chapter was about Nejat, and this what I'm writing now is the background story that plays before the whole series. So of course I already know that he will recover from this. I mean, that's the advantage of writing a background story for something that of which that plays in later stories. But still, I mean, the question is, how does he recover from this? How will he feel physically? Will he have any remaining symptoms? Or I don't know. I mean, I have no idea how that can work. It is a magical poison, or rather a poison that has been caused by magical changes. So this works quite differently than poisons on Earth, because there's no magic here on Earth, or at least what we consider to be magic. Let me put it that way. I mean, after all, if you ask someone who has never had contact with our modern world, and they live in, I don't know, the rainforest, or somewhere on the plains, or whatever, and you confront them with all the modern tools and equipments that we have, they might think actually that everything, like our laptop and our cell phones, those are actually magic. I mean, how else would they explain those things if not magic? I mean, we can explain, no, it's not magic, it's just we made it, and it works like that. But for them, for someone who is completely unfamiliar with our modern world, it might really seem like magic. So it all depends on how you look at it. But in this case, in Tergaenae, this is a poison that comes from ancient magic, or that comes from the use of ancient magic on that particular mushroom, and the mushroom that was earlier on powderized and used in the nests of in and on the nests of the flutter nymphs, and that caused the burns on the flutter nymphs. That same mushroom has been processed in a certain way with ancient magic to become a poison, and well, Nejat has been poisoned by it. So now the question is, how long will it take him to recover from it once he has gotten the antidote? And will he have remaining symptoms, residual symptoms, whatever you want to call it? Those are all things that are not clear yet, but I mean, I do know that he survives this, so that's a given. Otherwise, all the rest of the story is kind of void, or at least his part in the story. Let me put it that way. So that would be kind of weird to write a background story for someone who plays in other books, and then in the background story kill him. That's. I mean, I don't have time travel in Tergaenae, so that would make for a really weird thing happening. So no, that's not gonna happen. But well, I'll have to see how things progress from here, and how long it will take for Rowena to find the missing ingredients, and how long it will take to actually prepare the antidote, because that's usually those things take time. and we'll have to see about that. In how much more pain will Nejat have before he gets the antidote? We'll have to see. So, enough talk about that. Let's start another writing sprint of 25 minutes. And I have yet again another writing prompt for you. And that is, which one shall I choose? What time is it? 4 p.m. So we'll do probably 2 more writing sprints. I'm going with superstition. Superstition can be interpreted in many, many ways. Of course, in a fantasy story, superstition is kind of expected to be part of the world. It's how shall I say that? It's for fantasy stories, it's almost a normal part of the world. But also here on Earth, superstition is still very much alive. And I mean, just go out on the street and ask anyone if they have any superstitions about anything. And sure, at first they will say, no, until you start asking them specific things, like crossing the path of a black cat, or walking under a ladder, or I don't know, knocking on wood. I just take any example and see how they respond to it. And I can tell you, loads of people still believe in superstitions, even if they don't say it. So your character is confronted in one way or another with superstition. Is she herself superstitious? Is any of her family or friends superstitious? Perhaps she finds a news article, or perhaps she walks into a crime scene. I don't know, you're writing a crime novel and she is a CSI or another police agent and police officer, and she walks into the crime scene and she sees evidence of superstition of the victim. I don't know, just use it in the broadest way possible. Also keep in mind that in the old days, and that's not even that long ago, I think it was even the beginning of the previous century, that people still heavily believed in superstitions. So keep that in mind. And I mean, it's part of history. You also see it in excavations of ancient settlements and such. You see loads and loads of talismans and other kinds of things to ward off evil and other evidence of superstitions. So keep that in mind. Perhaps your character has been given a gift, has been given a talisman, and he doesn't know what to do with it. Perhaps he is at school and classmates are superstitious for whatever reason. I don't know, just see what you can do with it. I know my dragon companions are heavily superstitious, or at least many of them. I mean, Tergaenae is a world that is filled with magic and filled with all these kinds of things. Superstitions, talismans, altars, temples, you name it, it's all there. And you will often see that the barracks of dragon companions have a small altar where they can pray. And in houses of the common people, you will also have small altars where they can pray, and there will be bigger altars in the streets, and you have temples everywhere, and etc., etc. All kinds of ways to pray and such, but also all kinds of ways to buy talismans or to make talismans or whatever they use for superstition. So yeah, superstition, talisman, etc. That is very much alive in Tergaenae, and I think that it will come into play here in this scene that in this chapter that I'm writing currently, in one way or another. I'm not quite sure yet how, but I think it might come into play. So yeah, superstition. See what you can do with it. I wish you all a happy writing, and may your characters surprise you with their superstition or whatever they found. That was superstitious. Have fun. that is the end of our writing sprint. How did you guys do? I managed to write 543 words, which isn't a lot, but I found that I was finding it hard to see what to write. And I think one of the causes of that is that I am really starting to get tired right now. So I think this is going to be the last writing sprint for me, or this was the last writing sprint for me. At least I managed to hit the goal of 25,000 words, just a little over it. There are things going on in the background that Nejat isn't sure about, and it has to do with Ruark, and he doesn't know exactly what's going on, but right now he feels physically so bad that he's also not quite sure if he saw what he thought he saw. And so that's interesting to see how that will turn out in the future. There are a lot of things going on. At this point, Rowena has found the last missing ingredients, so she can start working on the antidote. From what she says, this particular antidote doesn't seem to need a lot of time to prepare, so hopefully the testing can be done quickly as well, and then Nejat can take the antidote. So it's all coming together in a way. Nasya has returned as well. She went out, she went with Rowena to find the missing ingredients, and we'll have to see what Nasya is going to do. I have no idea. But for the moment, I noticed that I have really reached my limit for today. So even though I would love to do another writing sprint, I know that it's better for me not to do it. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just feeling too tired to do another writing sprint, and I know that if I do another one, it will just go badly, and that's not good. That's not good. So with this, I'm gonna call it to an end. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. instead of the 1 p.m.s from this week, and tomorrow at 3 p.m. we'll have the Thank God It's Over live stream, and then we will look at all your projects and see how far everyone's has gotten. And let me know then if you managed to read the 50k. I mean, that is awesome if you did. And if you didn't, how far did you come, and how happy are you with the result, especially the last thing? I mean, I didn't achieve the 50,000. I achieved 25,000. But I'm very happy with the result. I got a lot of information that I needed. I managed to finally have Nasya in the background story as well, and I discovered several new things. So both about several characters as about the world. So in that respect, how do you say that? I'm very happy. I mean, yeah, I'm missing 25,000 words, give or take a few, but I made so much progress and I learned so many new things, and this is not I mean, the only reason that I have trouble writing at the moment is because I'm so tired. There is so much that still that this background story can still evolve to, and there is so much that I still need to discover. I know there is much more in it than what I have written so far, so this is going to be very interesting. So yeah, that's it for this NaNoWriMo for me. So we will have a look back at NaNoWriMo this month tomorrow, and after that I will have weekly live writing sessions every Friday at 3 p.m. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe and like button, and hit that bell notification to be notified of new live streams. That way you will always find the live streams in your notifications on your phone or your email, and you will never miss one. I will leave you all with one last writing prompt that you can use tonight, and that is dreams. You can interpret that in so many ways. Your character can actually have a dream at night or be daydreaming. It can be kind of a vision. I mean, that's also possible, especially if you are writing a fantasy story. But she can also have dreams about the future of her life, of what she would love to see happening in her life. If I look at myself, one of my dreams is to become a full-time author and game designer, and to be able to publish my books and publish my games, or have my books and games published, and make a living out of it, both of the books and of the games, but also other things I have planned for the future, like fantasy languages, constructed languages, maps, and much more. Those will all take time to develop, but yeah, I'm working on that, and I hope that in the end, everything that is one of my dreams, that everything taken together will give me a great source of income that is sufficient for me to lead a good life. I don't know, pay off my mortgage, things like that. Yeah, that would really be awesome, and it would be especially awesome. I mean, those are utopian dreams, right? I do realize that, or at least what I'm going to tell you about now. It would be especially awesome if my books were to be published and put into a television series. Yeah, I think especially a television series, that gives a way more possibility to go deeper into the book. But I do realize that that's really utopian. I mean, the chance that your book is made into a television series. Well, first, the chance that your book is being published, that already is a tremendous achievement. I mean, one of the thousands and thousands upon thousands of books that are yearly submitted to agents and to publishers. If your book is chosen, that is so awesome. And then have your book being chosen to be made into a movie or a television series. In my case, I would really hope. Let me rephrase that. I really have the dream that it really becomes a television series, because, like I said, that gives way more options to dive into the story instead of a movie. So those are my dreams for the future. So what are the dreams of your character for the future? What are your own dreams for the future, and for your current project, for your current book perhaps? Do you have any dreams of publishing or self-publishing your book or having it published? Things like that, or whatever, and anything about your current project, or about past projects that you have done. I'm really looking forward to hearing about it. Leave a comment in the comments below, or let me know in the forum questions you have and suggestions of topics to talk about. Let me post that form because I almost forgot that. This form. If you have any questions or perhaps topics to suggestions of topics to talk about tomorrow or in other live streams, feel free to leave that in that form, and I'm looking forward to hearing about it. Oh, and next week Friday we have another live stream, and this is special. This is a special live stream where we look at the naming of locations, naming of taverns, lakes, important government buildings, basically any location you can think of. I've made a special form for that, and this is a form where you can submit your own awesome name and let us know about it and share that milestone with us. Perhaps you found that name during this NaNoWriMo month, and let us know, and I will give you a shout out in the live stream on December the 8th. That's next week, Friday. So, thank you all for joining. It was a pleasure to have you all here, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in other live streams in the future. And if you'd like to know at what other dates, please check my channel because I have planned them all till the end of this year. And probably sometime next week I will look at the planning for the months in 2024. So be sure to check it out. Thank you all for coming, and I wish you all happy writing the rest of this evening, and I hope that you can reach the goals that you set for yourself. Happy writing, and see you tomorrow, hopefully.